Good morning. Happy Sunday. Water gives so much life to the world around us. It makes the plants grow. It makes communities like the ones we live in possible. And I think we're called to be a lot like water. Let's talk about it. Over on the other video for this week is Reverend Darren leading our worship service, and I invite you to check that out. It's really awesome that we're able to celebrate our graduates this summer, not the way that we would want, and they've had an unusual year, but we're thankful for all the skills and talents that they bring to our community. We're thankful for God, to God for them, and the things we're excited to see what they will do in this world. Darren had picked out a really cool piece of scripture. It's from Genesis for this week, and it's one of my favorite pieces. It's the story of Sarah and Hagar, and it's one part of a larger story, and I invite you to read it. But Hagar is really cool because she's a slave, and she doesn't have a lot of choices with how her life is kind of playing out. But even still, in the midst of it, she is the first person in the Bible to name God, to call God by name. She's important in the Bible. She shares in Abram's promise of his lineage occupying the nations. And it's a really sad story. And she's abandoned by Abram and Sarah in the desert, and hope is almost lost. But even still, when she runs out of water, God doesn't abandon. And I think that's important because she gets water, which is this lifeblood from God, this ability to survive. And we look at water as very important. And I think we're called to be like water. But even more important, when we're separated from our group, which we are right now, God does not abandon. So even though we can't be together, we have to think, whether we're Abram or Sarah or Hagar in the wilderness, God is always with us each step of the way. Let's go for our story. Water is amazing. It's all around us. It flows from the highest peaks in this world. It gathers there, and it flows all the way down to the deepest of the deepest trenches in the ocean. It's just an amazing fluid that gives so much life to this world. And I think we're called to be like it. Sometimes it's not about who we are, but it's about what we can do. The smallest droplet of water on a mountain etches away at that mountain's rock and carries the minerals in it down to the fertile valleys below, where life and plants can bloom and grow. Water can be fun. Sometimes we use it in water gun fights or water balloons. Water can be used to water our lawns. Water can be used to water our gardens and give us food. There's so many things that it can do. But water, in its life cycle, will do many things. It'll come down the mountains into the ocean. It'll go back up into the clouds. It'll fall in the cities and cool the asphalt. It'll fall in the fields. It'll fall in places where it has no use. And it just goes through its cycle where it evaporates and goes back into the clouds and does it again and again. In that way, water is really what we're supposed to be, because water does not care. It'll be drank by an animal, and then what happens to it? But it rejoins the cycle. It doesn't have a specific job. It doesn't have a thing that it does. And so here we have a glass of water. We pour it into 3 separate glasses, some way more cool than other ones. And then we take the water and we pour it back into the glass. When we pour the water back, it doesn't stay separated. We've poured it into these glasses and made these divisions that exist. If we think of the water like people, we do this too. We sometimes put people into boxes. We give them labels. But really, there's no difference between you and me or anyone else. And so once we kind of step that back, we take the water, pour it back in the glass. It looks exactly the same. and it's indistinguishable. The other thing is we can pour it out again into these separate glasses, and it's entirely different water in there. But we take this water and we pour it into our bowl. The water all acts the same. It's all pulled to the same place. And the same is true in water out in the whole wide world. It's pulled from the mountaintops to the oceans over and over again. And so for us, we're like the water. We're indistinguishable from each other. And so these barriers we put up between each other, they shouldn't be. And it's really important for us to remember that no matter what our skin color, what our language is, what our positions are in society, we're all just the same. And it's important for us to use our manners and to use our holy conversation skills to talk with one another, to listen to what is going on, and to recognize our responsibility in it. And at the end of the day, as Christians, we believe that we're all pulled to where God is calling us to be. Thanks be to God. Let's join for a moment of prayer. So often, like Hagar and Sarah, there's divisions between us, O God, that shouldn't exist. Help us to be like water, flowing effortlessly into new shapes and new places, joining together, separating, rejoining again. Help us to drop our memories that really just cause us to be. Help us to drop our memories that really cause us to see distinctions between us. Help us to know that we are one people and one substance, and that we are called to give life to this world. In your name, amen. See you guys next week. Bye.